Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Feeding the Curious Mind. My name's John Pullen and I'm a writer of fiction and non-fiction. This episode is about something which flies but really shouldn't be able to. Flight as we know it started with the Wright brothers in 1903, and by the 1930s we were getting a fairly good idea about the principles of flight. In other words, why aircraft fly. So they then started to apply it to other creatures, birds, for example, no problem there. And then they came across the bumblebee. And when they looked at that, they thought, no, the size of it, the weight, the size of the wings, that can't fly. But there it is, flying. It got even worse when they found out that the bee can carry its own weight as well. And then it got even worse when they found out, in addition to that, it can carry another 50% of its weight. So this was really, really strange, and people started looking into it. But it wasn't until about 1996 that the University of Cambridge came up with an idea and said, well, the flapping of the wings, even though they're small, they're creating vortices above the wings, and that is adding to the lift. Great, all sorted out. 5 years later, University of California came back and they said, okay, we've built a robotic bee. Yes, they did. And by analysing it, I'm afraid your research is wrong. It can't fly by the vortices created by the wings. So if you look at the principles of flight, which they'd been using all the time, it was obvious that the bumblebee, doesn't obey them. So new research started to look at the bee itself and forget the principles of flight. Now, the principles of flight are fairly straightforward and fairly simple. As an aircraft travels along the runway, the airfoil section, which is the cross section of the wing, that's got a shape which is more curved at the top than the bottom. And as it moves down, the air travels at different speeds over the top of the wing and the bottom. This causes a change in pressure, with a higher pressure being below the wing and a lower pressure being above. When the right speed is reached, lift overcomes gravity and the aircraft flies. Very, very basic principles of how an aircraft can fly. Now, when applied to the bee, they looked carefully at exactly what it's doing, and they found that the wings are not flapping up and down. They're moving more back to front and at an acute angle. Now, a bee can even flap its wings at up to 200 times a second. So they started to analyse this new data, and they found that it was creating different types of vortices, and they did actually add to the lift capability of the bee, and that's how a bee can fly. If you want to think about how it does that in a similar way that we can demonstrate, then move your arms forwards with the palms of the hands facing down. When it reaches full forwards, flip the hands upwards and then bring your arms back behind your head. And if you can do that 200 times a second, then you too may be able to fly.